I want to understand what it is that you're discombobulated by. It's 11:38. Kelly is in Hilperton. Kelly, what would you like to say?
Well, I just wondered, a couple of things you just said there about lives as a girl or as a boy, and I'm just wondering what those terms even mean. Because for me, there's gender, which is the role that which are foisted upon us, depending on what sex we're born, and then there's sex. And sex is immutable. It doesn't change. No matter what you do, you still have XX or XY chromosomes, and you have anomalies in between where people have certain conditions which makes them intersex. So lives as a girl, what does that even mean, James?
Well, in the context of the sort of stories that we're discussing, it means that they are children who want to feel happier and more comfortable doing all the things that tradition tells us girls do. It's really, I think, about challenging what is a mere tradition, like pink and blue, and toys and games, and experiences that we see as being essentially masculine, like playing cowboys and Indians or soldiers, and essentially feminine, like playing dolls and hospitals. The idea is that every child should be free to do both. And at the moment, if you feel passionately that you want to do all of the things that are traditionally associated with the other gender, life is really, really tough. And this mission, it seems to me, is designed to make life easier for those children. And I can't understand how we've ended up in a place where people get cross about trying to make life easier for troubled children.
Well, you see, the problem you have there is that we've decided what makes a girl, and we've decided what girls should do and what boys should do. And
but they want to decide for themselves. They don't want you to decide what they are.
No, my little boy wore tutus and little heels, prancing around the house, and he absolutely loved it, and not once did I think he must be a girl. I just thought that was a boy in a dress.
You're telling me about you, not him.
Okay.
That's the whole point about when you said
that he was a girl.
When you said, well, that's fine then, but other boys, other children born as boys do. They honestly feel that they're girls.
But they're not, because their sex is completely immutable.
Okay.
And when we talk about surgery, what happens to
when they say that they are, when they say that they're getting suicidal as they approach puberty because they know that they're going to develop much more prominent male organs, and yet inside they're absolutely female. What do you think they're doing? Do you think they're just lying, or do you think they're mischievous?
Inside female means. What does absolutely inside female even mean?
Well, if you speak to these children, I really want to understand where you're coming from, but you can't answer my question with another question. You have a child who, and I've met children like this. It's not hard to meet them, or you can see them being interviewed. There's lots of brilliant stuff on YouTube. Look up Fox Fisher, who's an activist in this field, and he's been in the studio. You can find an interview with him on the LBC website. We spent a long time together discussing it, and he was born a girl, and he explained to me in painstaking detail how he always knew he was a boy. So I just want you to tell me what you think he's doing. Is he lying, or is he being brainwashed by someone? Or because if you told me something about your innermost soul and self, I don't know if I'd be arrogant enough to think that you'd got yourself wrong.
I think I'm a parent of 4, and I think when my children say stuff that would be as catastrophic as saying they feel they've been born in the wrong body, I would probably wait it out until they were old enough to really understand what that might mean.
Fox is in his 20s and absolutely adamant that he was always a boy, even though he tried to live as a girl with the body, as you would say, his sex, his immutable sex. So I just want you to know there's thousands of these children now finding the courage to come forward. I think it's 0.1% of the general population, so you don't need to get too worried. But what do you think motivates them? And I am going to ask you a slightly more robust question, which is, what the hell gives you the right to tell other people what they should be feeling about themselves?
I don't profess to do that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You did, and you have.
The journey that you go on, if you decide that your child is trans, is you then go to puberty.
It's not a question of you deciding whether your child is trans. It's a question of you believing your child. And what I want you to tell me is these people who you think are somehow, I don't know, what do you think they are? Do you think they're being dishonest, or do you think they're being misled, or do you think... just talk to me about the people, the adults, who used to be children, like all adults did, who are absolutely adamant and completely compelling in their explanation of having been trapped in the wrong sex as a child and having felt utterly out of kilter with the world around them, having felt suicidal because they knew that they were going to develop the wrong sexual organs. What do you think they're doing if they're not telling the truth, Kelly?
Well, I think it's a slight social contagion. I think if you
think it's contagious?
I think it's a slight social contagion. Which
right, well, let's just unpick what you mean by that. You think you can catch it?
No, I think that...
Well, I'm just going to look up contagion on your behalf for everybody else's benefit, all right?
OK, you carry on being patronising.
I'm not patronising. I'm trying to understand the words that you're using.
Right. Social contagion. So I'll tell you of an instance of a girl that's been raised from birth...
The communication of a disease from one person or organism to another by close contact. So you don't mean that?
Think there's ever a social contagion. So punk is not a social contagion. That's a movement of innate people that have decided they all like the same music and wear their hair the same.
Oh, my life.
Contagion.
OK.
That's not a trend.
So you think it's trendy?
No, I think there are some people that are vulnerable enough...
OK, well, let's talk about the ones who aren't. Let's talk about the ones who are real. Not the victims of a trend or a social contagion. What do you think is going on in their minds that makes them so utterly wrong about who and what they are?
Well, I don't think you can take a child at 4, and I don't think they can be right about...
I've used an example of a man in his 20s.
There's 80% of children that say they are gender non-conforming, that say they're the opposite sex, actually grow out of it.
Which is fine, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the man. I know, I've referred you to the interview we did in his 20s, very impressive young man, explained to me that he spent his entire life feeling as if he was trapped in the wrong gender, and I just want you to tell him, through me, what he's got wrong about himself. And then I want you to... Go on.
Maybe he hasn't got it wrong. Maybe there are...
So why does it bother you, then?
...of profound gender dysphoria. But that's a medical thing.
So why does it bother you, then?
Why does it bother me, what, that people transition?
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me what people's personal journeys are. I don't think we should be allowing children to transition in any meaningful way. I think...
Well, we're talking about clothes. Is that a meaningful way? I don't want to patronise you by checking what you mean by words, because you didn't mean contagious when you said contagion. Pardon?
I don't think you're a girl because you wear a dress.
So children should be able to dress as they want?
Absolutely.
At school. So a boy wants to go to school in a skirt, that's absolutely fine by you?
Absolutely fine.
What about changing rooms?
It doesn't mean he's a girl. No, I think a girl's and a boy's right to be in a changing room with the same sex, not gender.
But these are cubicles with walls and doors.
Well, they're not, are they? Have you been to a Topshop changing room?
Well, not recently, but I was in an H&M Hennis one last Saturday.
There's a lot of... Some changing rooms have fully lockable doors, James, and that's perfectly fine. They can be unisex. And some changing rooms don't, and we should afford girls and women the right to...
Because you think just to be clear, because you think that a man pretending to be a woman might invade their changing room in the hope of, what, catching them in their
What, you mean
pants?
Like there's 3,500 cases of voyeurism and indecent exposure? You think those things...
By men pretending to be women?
Well, Christopher Hambrook in Canada pretended to be a woman.
Okay, it's clearly a field of expertise. It's clearly a field of expertise for you. So there's one chap in Canada who pretended to be a woman in order to spy on women.
Why are there separate changing rooms by sex?
Well, there are separate changing rooms not by sex as well, and the reason is, I suppose, that people feel more comfortable that way because we're back to tradition again. Would you feel uncomfortable getting changed in the room next to me?
If it was curtains,
yeah,
which, let's face it, they never draw properly.
Well, you would, I think. you would if you felt like you do. So why would you feel uncomfortable getting changed in the room next to me? Or on the other side of a curtain from me?
Well, because you're a man.
But what do you think I'm going to do?
We have separate changing rooms.
But why would you feel uncomfortable getting changed on let's just talk about this. This is helpful. You're on the other side of the curtain from me. What are you worried I might do?
Well, you're a man. So the same as the risk factor is the same for any man. Plus, I respect my own privacy.
Well, I'm respecting your privacy. That's why the curtains are drawn. So what are you worried about?
The curtains never close completely, James.
Oh, with respect, Kelly, if I was as paranoid about this as you are, I'd probably hold it shut while trying to undress with one hand. So what are you... Okay, well then explain to me the rational fear you have of what I might do if I was changing my jeans on the other side of a door or a curtain from you.
Well, specifically you, I probably wouldn't think you would do anything.
But are all other men then, or just most, or how would you know that
not all
one's
other men.
to be...
Let's not frame this as some sort of raging rampant...
You did a minute ago say, but you're... I think your exact words were, you're a man, and that was the reason why you wouldn't want to do it. So you've already done that, but you can retract that. Now talk me through how you'd tell the ones who are dodgy. The ones that are pretending to be women are real... Go on.
80,000... There are more men in prisons in this country for sexual assault than the entire population of women. Do you think that's because all men are completely trustworthy?
I don't know how many of them were pretending to be women when they committed their crimes. And also, surely you're at risk of that every time every time you're out in public, you're at risk of sexual assault. More sexual assaults take place at work than almost anywhere else, or in a nightclub, or in all sorts of environments. I mean,
so
you want some sort of So you want some sort of kind of Islamist segregation in place because men can't be trusted.
I'm a right-wing fascist, religious nut.
Okay, well, that was the conclusion I was arriving at, but I'm glad that we can part in agreement.
James O'Brien on LBC.
11:53 is the time.